It's about 5:15 p.m. and I just come out to take a walk, to take a stroll in my neighborhood because I was really getting tired sitting indoors and I wanted a change of environment. So I decided to come out for a while and just walk around. Now, because it's winter, as from 4, it becomes really dark. It becomes as dark as like 8 o'clock, African time. So I just came out to take a walk and I discovered a young girl sitting outside. I just saw this girl sitting outside and just at the bus stop, and I thought she was actually waiting for the bus. Then the bus came and drove past her, but she didn't get onto it. And then the next thing I noticed, she was crying. So normally I mind my business a lot, but I was forced to go close to her because she's a really young girl. So I went close to her to ask her what the matter is, and then she just said she needed to talk to me, and so we decided to sit down where I am sitting right now. And she opened up to me that she's going through a lot, that she can't go home at the moment because her house is very cold, that is as cold as outside here. And because it's very, very cold here at the moment, it's very cold, I'm outside, my hands are literally freezing. I'm shaking a little bit because it's really, really cold. And for this girl to have been outside here in the cold for God knows how long, I don't know how she has managed. But she's telling me now that her house is as cold as outside here. Like the temperature in her house is the same thing with how it is outside. And I'm wondering how she's surviving. And I asked her, how long has it been like this? And she said it's been like this since like 3 days, that she's not been able to afford her heating. So of course I would have loved to put her on this video to record her, to talk about her experience, but not everybody actually wants to be exposed, and which I respect her privacy. Not everybody wants to talk on camera about what they are going through, which is very okay by me. But it just brought me to the realization that right now people are going through a lot. Like, I understand quite all right that there's this kind of recession thing going on at the moment in this world, in the world, it's everywhere. But I'm beginning to wonder if it's worse in the UK. Like, I see people literally crying that they can't survive, they can't cope with what is happening at the moment, that they are struggling. Like, everything has gone up so bad that if you get into the shop this morning to buy something, by the time you get there in the evening, they have added on top of the price of whatever it was you bought. The same thing you bought in the morning has increased. So I'm just wondering what exactly is happening. And the worst part of it is that this is just beginning. According to the news, that is going to get worse as from next year and all that. So if it's going to get worse, then how are people going to survive? How are people going to cope? Like, because yeah, I understand very well that now, due to the cost of everything increasing, people are finding it difficult to manage. But not everybody has the strength or are able to actually manage properly. And I'm beginning to think that a lot of people might actually get depressed. And I hope people don't start committing suicide, don't start taking their lives over this. This particular street, as far back as last year, 2 years ago, once it gets to November, you start feeling the Christmas spirit around here. Not just here, almost everywhere, literally the whole of my city, just like let me just say almost everywhere. Once it gets to like November, you start feeling this Christmas spirit, you start having this Christmas excitement all around you. Because by this time, November, most of the houses are already decorated. Like, they've already put up all their Christmas trees and all of that, just to make it look like, when we're expecting Christmas, the best season of the year. But this year has been a totally different, like, in every sense. From the beginning of the street, it just looks like no one actually lives here. It's very quiet, very boring, no decor, except for this particular house. This is the only house on this street, a street that has almost 20 houses. Just one house has Christmas decor put up. And what does that really say about the happenings in the world now? A lot of people are struggling to survive, and that they hardly give a damn about Christmas. Like, they can't even afford to feed. They can't afford the 3 square meal. So is it Christmas that will now be the major issue? It's that bad that people have lost interest in things that usually give them joy, just because of what we are facing economically at the moment. And this makes me ask myself, how do a lot of people survive at this point? I'm talking about people who have no jobs, or people who have no one to assist them, or people who reside in the country illegally and are not permitted to work. Those that are not permitted to work, or they don't have any access to public funds. How are they actually coping now? Because it might just sound very casual. Oh, there's a recession, there's a worldwide recession, there's scarcity of this, there's no money and all that. But it goes beyond just saying it. It's deep. Like, you need to see people who are actually experiencing this hardship now for you to understand where I am coming from. Like, if you are opportune to have a job, or you have a business, or you have whatever it is that is bringing in money, and you can pay your rent, you can pay your bills, you can put in your heating in the house, you can cook, you eat a hot meal, you should really be very grateful to God, because honestly, people are not finding it easy at all. People are skipping meals just so that they can survive the next day, or so that their children can actually afford to eat something. People are going through a lot, and I have never really experienced a thing like this before. This is kind of new. It's scary, because nobody knows what tomorrow holds for us. And that's one of the reasons why I always emphasize on the importance of having a side hustle, the importance of having so many other streams of income. Like, at this point now, if one job alone cannot foot your bills. One job alone can't really foot your bills. That's why you need to think of other things. You need to think outside the box. And it's so funny how everything has gone up. The cost of everything has gone up. But the wages, like, am I the only one thinking that it's not moving? Like, I don't know, maybe there are some professions, or maybe there are some jobs that actually pay really well, that pay so much, and maybe they've been increasing of recent. But with all these strikes going all around the country right now, Royal Mail is doing their own strike. The nurses are trying to do their own, or they have done it, or they are threatening to. A lot of, even recently, even the trains and the railway had a strike. So, like, everybody is on edge. Everybody is protesting for one thing or the other, whether directly or indirectly, whether publicly or privately. But everybody is going through some kind of challenges right now. And the ones that are speaking out are speaking out. The ones that are not speaking out are keeping it to themselves. But I don't know, rather, we don't know for how long this whole thing is going to last. At this point, if you can be of help to anybody, honestly, it will do you a lot of good to help. If you can afford to, because in as much as it is a terrible situation a lot of people have found themselves, there are still people who you're still a bit better off than a lot of people. There are still people who can still manage to, give a few pounds here and there to people who are struggling. If you find yourself in that condition or in that position, try as much as possible to help. Now, it's so bad. A friend of mine told me that in her town where she lives, it's so bad now that even food banks where people go to for help, for help, for food items and everything, is now so bad that the food banks don't even have enough to give people. Like, the food banks don't even have food again. So when you are now cashless, foodless, and before, people usually resort to food banks for, maybe that's their last resort for help, and you go to the food bank and the food bank cannot assist you. It's a terrible situation. Like, I don't know how people who are in a very tight situation like that actually survive, because even those that are working, that have something doing, it is not easy. Not to talk of when you're not doing anything at all.